people of Britain, people of Elton, get real. Louise Woodward was at least guilty of manslaughter, and something has to happen. But now you're on television. Are you doing this, Nina, to cause trouble?
No, I'm doing it because I believe in my own opinions. I think everybody's entitled to their own opinions, and most of the people I know that I talk to actually hold the same opinion as me. I do not for a moment, I do not for a moment imagine that Louise
You'll have your chance, folks,
that
please.
Louise is guilty of premeditated murder. Nobody in their right mind would think that. But I think it is entirely likely and exceedingly possible that in a moment of stress, something happened. Now, that jury and the judge are the people who are best able to decide. They were able to view Louise, to hear the evidence, to see her absolutely up close. Now, people in this country have said Louise is innocent. Nobody other than Louise will know the truth of that, ever. However well you know somebody, you don't know them. You don't know them every second of their existence. You don't know them every moment of their lives.
Do you think people who are saying she is absolutely innocent are sad, or have lost their way?
No, I don't think they're sad and they've lost their way. I'm sure, I mean, if she was a member of my family, I would be standing up and shouting for her too. But I mean, how big can this family be? I mean, there's a whole village which can be said as very commendable, very, very commendable to fight for your own, to go for justice. And there has been a miscarriage of justice. I mean, she obviously does not deserve to stay in prison for 15 years. Nobody's saying that.
In your opinion, and those of the people you talk to, probably guilty of manslaughter.
Probably guilty of manslaughter, and in that case, should serve a term in prison.
Andrew Miller, you heard what Nina said. You're the MP for Ellesmere Port and Neston. You're Louise's MP. You've worked very early on the case. You don't know that she's innocent, and you're going around declaring she's innocent, and you're an MP, a Member of Parliament. You don't know.
You're entitled to your opinion. Nina's entitled to her opinion, but you're both just like the jury.
You don't know what my opinion is, sir. I'm asking you what your opinion is.
Let me answer your question. Like the jury, juries can get things wrong. There are miscarriages of justice, and I'm sure Nina wouldn't deny that there are miscarriages of justice. It's also the case that she can be wrong. Now, let me say this. I am the only person in this studio who has had any access to the real evidence in this case. I drew up the character evidence on behalf of Louise that was put to the court. In doing so, I deliberately, on advice from lawyers, both in this country and the United States, looked very, very hard for some trait in Louise's character that would suggest that she could, in a moment of temper, do this terrible thing. And I can assure you, Nina, there is no such trait. Add to that the scientific evidence, add to that the scientific evidence, and I say Louise is innocent.
You are not a woman, and I would defy any mother. Any mother has known that stress when a baby is crying and crying and crying, and it's only because there's a blood tie that would prevent a mother from going over that line. You know, Louise is guilty of being a 19-year-old girl. She was put in a position that she should never have been put in. Looking after a boisterous 2-and-a-half-year-old and a baby. That was an entirely irresponsible act to put her in that position. But having said that, it doesn't take that much of a stretch of imagination. Whatever character she has, in a moment of stress, understandably, do something that would injure that baby.
All right. Audience. Madam here, yes, please.
I've looked after a baby that wasn't my blood relation. And it cried and cried and cried and cried. And I walked away and I asked for help and said, please, will somebody else look after this baby? You don't
How old were you at the time?
I was 19.
Well, you're a more sensible person, and you probably had people around. She was a stranger in a strange country. Who was she going to go to?
I was strange people.
Can I ask you, though, would you have... one of the things that got to me, would you have complained about a baby crying to your friend? Which was part of the evidence there, that she was tired and tired and tired of the babies. The baby kept crying. Don't all babies cry, madam? I don't imagine you said that, did you?
All babies cry, yeah.
Did you complain about it? Would you have complained in that way?
Well, yes, I would have reported it to the people. I kept saying to the people the baby keeps crying, and there's a problem with the baby. And in the end, I asked, please, will somebody else look after the baby because it's putting me under stress?
All right, the gentleman there first, very quickly, sir.
Yes, I was just going to say I don't normally agree with the televising of trials, but I think this has been marvellous the way it has been televised this time. But it's brought all these people together to try and get this poor girl home, and also I would say it shows the fallacies of the jury system.
We're going to ask about cameras in part 2, but right now, you're convinced she's innocent.
Yes, I don't think...
Innocent of everything, including...
There's other people in that household, and I'm very suspicious of the motives. I didn't like the mother's attitude on television. She appeared very smug.
You'll get yourself a libel action, sir, even from far away as America.
I'm saying my opinion, she appeared very smug on television.
Right,
and I don't think we'll ever get to the real truth of the matter. Also, I want to know why vital evidence wasn't brought before the courts. I'm very unhappy
particular vital evidence?
I've visited America. I read extensively about America, and I'm very unhappy about the American judicial system, the jury system.
I've got a gentleman here, Stephen Jacoby, right? Fair Trials Abroad, a charity. You're a lawyer, but you work helping people. In fact, you helped the Woodward family very early on. Is this gentleman right? Very badly handled case?
Louise Woodward is a victim of a fundamental breach of human rights. I don't know about guilty, I don't know about innocent. But I know that the judge in handling this case has broken the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
How did he do that, sir?
Well, what he did was he allowed prosecution evidence to be given to the jury, and when they came back and asked for the same evidence for the defense, they were thrown out. They came back once again, and they said it was vital that they saw this evidence. They were thrown out again by the judge. I think everybody here knows that for a fair trial, you have the prosecution first and the defense to answer. Just that.
Is there not a hint in all of this? Is there not a hint, Mr. Jacoby? There's a little bit of dear old English racism here. Everyone does it so badly elsewhere. How you can sit there, a British lawyer, on the day that 44 years after we hang Mr. Bentley, his case goes to appeal. It happens in Britain, it happens everywhere. Isn't that a jingoistic assault on any foreigners, in particular Americans here, sir?
I understand that you don't believe in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
No, I
do.
believe that judges and the legal system screw up a lot, sir. And in this country,
I've never seen a breach of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by an American lawyer.
All right. But then, wouldn't you be pleased? It doesn't give them perfect right for appeal. If you saw that Judge Zobel made such a mistake, aren't you happy?
No, I'm unhappy that any judge in a common law system could do something as stupid as that.
Okay.
Very unhappy.
All right. The case was strangely handled. You, sir?
I think, according to Judge Zobel, the jury justice is delayed, inefficient, and tinged with unfairness. I think he should have considered those facts, I mean his own statement, and he should have allowed the reasonable doubt.
No, but it's the jury's position, sir, and I remind you that I think everyone in America, they got annoyed with the jury, did they not? Everyone thought that jury was ceasing to be jurors, were becoming detectives.
Well, not everyone, because last week I was in America, I was in New York, and nobody there, even the papers, didn't carry the story as much as they did here. And they are just self-centered, they are busy in their own things. They couldn't be.
Where do you stand, sir? You've been in America. Let me get back to the original position. Where do you stand? Is she completely innocent? Or are you with Nina, a voice crying for reason or unreason?
Without the full evidence, I cannot say, but there is a reasonable doubt. There is a doubt about the evidence given to the judge, and the judge is delaying the justice. I think delayed justice is no justice.
Okay, lady at the back up there. Yes, ma'am, if we can get the microphone to you, sorry.
Just following on from that point, the point is not whether she's innocent or guilty. We cannot know what happened on that day in that room, but the prosecution were not able to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt. Therefore,
Which case? Which case? The case of murder, obviously no. But even the case of manslaughter, which is what I think Nina is saying, that someone was responsible for the baby's death.
we don't know, and I wouldn't like to offer an opinion on that.
But you say that's the most important thing. You can't tell whether she's guilty or innocent. The most important thing is that that baby is dead. The baby's been forgotten in all of this.
No, not at all. That's not.
Sorry, let the lady...
And that family every single day. Yes. We pray for that family. We have not forgotten Matthew, Sonny or Debbie in all of this.
No,
that includes
ma'am,
Brandon as well.
the case remains that the pure innocence, she is completely free. Are you not... I mean, I know a lot of you know her, have relationships. We never know who does what. We never know what lies within our friends' hearts. How can you be so sure?
What happened to innocent till proven guilty?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. But she has been... She's been judged guilty. She has been judged guilty by a court of law. And you say innocent till proven guilty. She was proved guilty.
She went there.
She was proved guilty.
Let Nina finish.
Before the trial.
Hold on, one at a time. The lady... we'll get our cameras to you, madam. Please make your point now. Please.
If she is guilty, why has the judge let it carry on this long? Why is she still in limbo? Why doesn't she know what's happening? Why don't we know what's happening?
Well, I'm sure our legal friend down here will tell you. You can't just overturn something in a moment. He has to deliberate. He has to make up his mind.
He's considering it. He could have settled for what the jury said, and he hasn't.
Sorry, hold on, one at a time. Let the lady up there finish. Ma'am, the judge is waiting. It's a difficult matter. He has to take time to consider it. That's the answer Nina gave you.
In normal court cases, why is he considering this now? I mean, she was found guilty.
He's an intelligent judge with a great reputation who knows that he's got a very difficult situation. And he's thinking about it.
I mean,
well, why not give him the time then?
She should have been released.
You can't. You say that.
Nina and then Andrew. Nina and then Andrew.
You say that. You say that because she's British. You say that perhaps because you know her. You say that because you know her. You say that because you feel that your way of life and your people have been somehow besmirched by this. It's not that at all. It is not that. It is.
You'd have to fight for your own.
Come on.
No. Yes, you fight. No. You say fight for your own. All Nina is saying is that you are fighting for your own. I've read what Nina writes. She thinks it's a wonderful thing, but misguided. Very quick. You've had two says. Hold on. Your point first.
I'm mail coordinator for Louise, and I have been since last Thursday, since all this has blown up. We've had hundreds and hundreds and thousands and thousands and thousands of letters
from America
that
as well.
say from America, France, Switzerland, Portugal, Spain.
We understand. We understand. Nina understands that. Can I put a point? I've got someone here from the Mirror. Hold on a second. Brian. The tabloids have gone nuts on this, so has Sky TV, and perhaps one of the reasons for this response is the fact that the tabloids have gone crazy. You've loved every minute, haven't you, Brian?
Why have the tabloids gone nuts on this?
You tell me. I'm asking you.
No. Where is the evidence? I'll tell you what happened, actually.
Where's the evidence? Can we roll the video?
How come the Sun had a front page with world exclusive? Now, world exclusive means world exclusive, but it said, Louise Granny pleads for mercy. Well, if Louise Granny didn't plead for mercy, there'd be something bloody wrong about that.
We've just shown the people. Brian, we've just shown the people.
That's a separate issue, Tony, and you know it.
Brian, front cover of the Mirror we just saw.
Yeah.
Liberty, yes?
Yeah.
Liberty, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you're not going to town on it.
No, I'm not. I'm saying we're going to town on it. Can you just explain how this has come about? This is not another example, like, of Diana, where the tabloids went, let's hijack this national emotion. Because what happened here is that a lot of intelligent, ordinary people followed this case on Sky News and local news like Granada, and they picked up and put it together in their own heads that what was going on here was that a girl was possibly facing a miscarriage of justice. When it came about, the Mirror opened its lines and said, right, phone and tell us what you think. 60,000 people have phoned in over 2 days. 95% of them said, this girl is not a cold-blooded murderess. And the Daily Mirror went along with that.
No one's saying that she is.
So how's the Mirror? How is the Mirror?
You're saying liberty.
Hang on a minute. We've got a contradiction in Nina's position.
Can I bring in Nina? I want to bring in Andrew Miller for 1 second.
There is an absolute contradiction in Nina's position. She was charged with first or second degree murder. She's now saying that nobody's saying that, says Nina. If they're not saying that, why did the jury come up with this bizarre decision? It was a perverse decision. It's a miscarriage of justice. It should be thrown out.
Let Nina reply, please.
I'm saying there's a miscarriage of justice. I said it in my opening remarks that it's been an entire miscarriage of justice. She is obviously not guilty of premeditated murder. Nobody is saying that.
Define what she's guilty of.
She is potentially capable.
Come on, define it. Tell us what it is.
Manslaughter.
Come on, define it. Define it. Come on, you're the expert. You define it.
Killing the baby without intending to.
Cool
That's
out.
what
A
manslaughter
second,
is.
please.
You know this, do you?
I
You know
know.
this. You
There is
weren't
a
there. You
possibility,
don't know.
Andrew,
don't
there
know
is a
it.
possibility.
But
That is
neither
what
do you
Nina
know
is
otherwise.
saying. And the fact that you, the people of Elton, and the British tabloids are ignoring the possibility of manslaughter and going liberty, liberty, is a problem.
tell you about
Can I bring in? No, you've got to wait a minute. Wait one
about the
second.
rest of the
Wait one
evidence?
second.
Look at
Have
the
I got
facts.
Roy Greenslade in Brighton? Roy, you're there.
Good evening.
Former Mirror man, you tell Brian what he and the tabloids have done, please, sir.
Well, it's quite obvious that we've created a mass hysteria. It's a bit like what happened after Princess Diana's death. And whipped up by television screening, people have already taken their decisions on it.
Roy,
it's a
can I stop you a
kind of
second, Roy?
reverse Lynch law. Really.
It is indeed. Roy, from your point of view, but Brian says he just followed public opinion, sir.
I think there's a great reciprocity between what newspapers do and their readers. They pick up very quickly on what their readers are thinking. But the problem of this case was, of course, that they had to make a decision between murder and getting off with scot-free. And that was the difficulty. And what Nina Mishkov is arguing appears to me to be entirely sensible. And that's where Stephen Jacobi is also right, in that the jury weren't given an option between the two situations. And therefore, you're getting people crying out, whipped up by a media which feels altogether righteous in its cause.
You created hysteria, Brian. Lynch mob.
Roy, you know as well as I do this was a massive human interest story. You also know that the tabloids came to it quite late. It wasn't going on for 7 months. It came on when they were out for 3 days and they thought something's going off here. And our editor was up at 2:30 in the morning, as were a lot of other people here, and was totally moved by it. Came in the next day and said, we've got to do something about this. In the editorial, it said, we're not ruling out the fact that she didn't commit manslaughter. We're saying there has been a major miscarriage of justice here, and we're going to get behind this. And I don't see a problem in that. It's called reflecting
Quick
public
reply
opinion.
from Roy, and then this lady over. Quick reply from you, Roy. Just reflecting opinion, sir.
All I would say is that this would never have happened if it hadn't have been on television, and there have been even more deserving cases. I think back to the case of the Observer reporter Farzad Bazoft, who was held in Iraq, which didn't get the kind of public support that Louise Woodward has got. And I think that's the problem, really, that the tabloids have managed to latch onto it because of the television show. It's justice by entertainment.
Roy, justice by entertainment, we're going to deal with in part two. We're going to take a break in a few minutes, but this lady has something to say right now to you, madam.
Right, I was in the pub on the night of the verdict, and the phone started ringing immediately before the press published a single newspaper. That phone never stopped ringing, and it has never stopped ringing, and the people who have got through have said they've been trying to ring for 2 and 3 days. They've all been trying to ring on the verdict before it actually hit the tabloids the next morning.
But they did that because they were